the Ravens collapsed to the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are finally beginning to show some of the potential on this roster. And this is a clip of Andrew Wingard, who is one of the players on the safety for the Jaguars. He was undrafted and he's been with the organization since his career began a few years ago. So the reason that that's notable to me is that he did like this was not a guy who's coming in and saying this with because it's his first year with the Jaguars. No, this is a guy dissing his former coach very explicitly. And I just think it indicates that while the Jaguars may have had some bad losses this year, and in my opinion, they have not lived up to the talent that they have on their roster because they really do have a lot of good pieces, that there's a lot of hope, I think, going into next year that some of these young guys who do have that talent can put it together, Trevor Lawrence included.
I'm just like so happy for Trevor because he had to deal with Urban Meyer last year as a rookie.
Whoa.
And I don't even know if he had a rookie year. And to see the growth he's made, not just on the field, but just like his preparation, his demeanor, all that. And you knew he's, when the rock breaks, it's not that one chip. It's all the chips that stacked up before that. And so happy for him. That throw on fourth down to Zay was like, I knew we were winning the game. Honestly, like I could feel it. It was so cool.
And then you believed in your coach all that year, and for him to go for two, what was that like when he does it?
The stones on that guy, it's like, I would die for Doug Pederson, I swear. I would run into battle with Doug Pederson, 100%. I love the guy. And, just his attitude, it's like you're 3-7, and it's like, you want to make playoffs and stuff, and it's like he hasn't changed his attitude whatsoever. It's like we come into work, we keep working, we just keep chipping away, and eventually it's going to pay off, and it did today. And it's like the feeling in the locker room is just awesome. I love this team. I love this team.
You could say the same about you. You haven't had the easiest go of it at times in Jacksonville. Yep. How about the play you made to punch that loose?
I just love football. I love.
All right, that guy, very happy player there. Andrew Wingard played college football at Wyoming. Was not like that aware of him.
That man is a creature of north of
oh my
Florida.
God,
that man is a panhandle veteran.
He went to Wyoming. I mean, like he's a football guy.
I love this
AKA
guy.
He's a white safety.
I absolutely love him.
No,
wearing the Jags beanie.
Yeah,
just being like, my coach was utter dog shit last year.
Yeah, that's the thing is like when you hear a player speaking that
candidly for Doug Pederson.
Juxtapose that, right? He had to play with Urban Meyer in his first year. He basically didn't have a rookie here.
And I'd
run into battle for Doug Pederson.
And who, by all accounts, I mean, you heard every single thing you heard about Urban Meyer last year was him just basically trying to swing his dick around and assert dominance over his players.
I mean, he's literally swinging his leg around, kicking his kicker, and
kicking it,
physically abusing his players,
yelling at his other coaches, saying, "What have you won?" Whereas one of his literal own coordinators had won a Super Bowl.
Well, that's the thing is like you see the difference, and I like Jordan. I like Doug Pederson. Whew. That was close. That was a close. Kermit? No, but like I like Doug Pederson because you can tell he's a player's coach in the sense that I think he covered up a lot of the problems that were being caused by Carson Wentz. He had that team playing like their hair was on fire in that Super Bowl run, and you could just tell they liked playing for him. And I think that there's a lot that the Jaguars players, and they're very young, have to unlearn. And I think he's doing a good job of working through that, even though the results haven't necessarily been there this year. But it makes all the difference when guys want to play for their coach. Urban Meyer is an overgrown baby who what he likes about being a football coach is that he gets to be the king of the castle and making all the decisions, as opposed to loving building relationships with players and connecting with them and fighting for them. He's a very small man, and that's how generally I feel about a lot of these head football coaches at college programs because what they like to do is to recruit players and feel like they're the ones making all the big decisions and being the big man on campus with the big house and the big salary. But when it comes down to it, when are they that smart? Do they know how to get the most out of their guys? Do they know how to connect with their guys, especially when their guys are professionals, not kids who are dependent on them for their very survival for their career and they aren't getting paid? That's the kind of guy Urban Meyer is versus the kind of guy that Doug Pederson is.
Emma, I just kind of feel like you are not really drilling down into the mind of a elite college football head coach, which is that it's not as important to foster, long-lasting, fulfilling relationships with your players and your staff. It's more important to almost get left behind by your team so you could get a lap dance from a sweaty co-ed in a Cleveland bar.
You're right. I guess I'm not necessarily evaluating the priorities correctly.
Yeah, I just feel like it's a little bit of like I think it's just a misreading of the
situation. It's a blind spot by me. Yeah. I couldn't necessarily. It couldn't be me, but yeah. So putting Urban Meyer stuff aside, very good win by the Jaguars, and Doug Pederson was showing his aggressiveness that he displayed in Philadelphia with those fourth down tries. Totally put the ball in the hands of Trevor Lawrence. That's going to give him confidence. It's going to give the team confidence in him, and you can already tell that the team does have confidence in him.
And they were playing. What I really appreciated is, especially when it was urgent, they were playing fast. They were playing kind of hurry up, no huddle offense,
team.
and the best thing, the things that when we were kind of talking about the 2021 QB class, the thing I was saying about Lawrence is that what really stands out to me with him is his footwork, his accuracy, and his intermediate ball placement. And we saw all of that on display in that drive with that ended with the touchdown to was it Marvin Jones? I think it was the last
He'd
touchdown.
been peppering Zay Jones all game. I need to find the box score.
And then I think Zay Jones might have gotten the 2-point. I think he might have gotten the 2-point.
I don't remember.
But it was but I mean you look at his receiving core, and it's not all the most heralded guys outside of even Christian Kirk, and Christian Kirk was not even a number one option necessarily for the Cardinals before he got that big deal. He's getting a lot of reps and a lot of chemistry between guys like Jamal Agnew, who was mostly a kick returner, Marvin Jones, who was in the latter part of his career but still playing really well, Zay Jones, one of the third or fourth guys on the Raiders last year. Imagine this team with Calvin Ridley when he gets back.
But when they got this team with
a young
Calvin Ridley,
with a young wideout potentially in the draft, if they're able to get someone with a high ceiling, if they're able to get someone in free agency, if this play from Lawrence continues, he doesn't have to be Josh Allen. He doesn't have to be Mahomes. He can just be one of the 10, 12 best quarterbacks in the league. And the Jags will take that.
Yeah, of course they will. I mean,
I was super, super heartened to see him not only get to be in this position where they could win the game, but actually win the game.
And he played really well at Clemson, but that it was easy on him compared to other quarterbacks, right? In the sense that team was amazing and the offense was very favorable to him. He had all the tools that Bradley's describing there, but sometimes, you got to learn how to be a pro. And to have a year where you're working with Urban Meyer, not the time to learn. So he really is, as was said there by Andrew Wingard, he is learning. He basically redshirted, and it was worse than redshirting. He was actively learning bad things from his former head coach. Bad habits, and so it's going to take a second for him to put this stuff together. But the intermediate accuracy that you describe, it was gone for a few of that game stretch in terms of sailing balls over.
That
guys.
Was the problem. Is that top tier stuff, that coming down a few levels was showcasing more of the limit of some of his other limitations, where it was he missed this guy, you said he sprayed a ball, he sailed a ball.
But I would way rather have that than have him not have the tools to do it. I think he doesn't have a Josh 100%. Allen or a Mahomes arm, but he's got a really good arm.
As much as ceiling is really enticing and really compelling for quarterback prospects, having both a decently high ceiling but also just a floor that you can get competent play out of a guy for the most part, that the fundamentals are sound, I think sometimes it's just as important because you just sometimes want a young guy like that to have some of that technique figured out going into his pro career.
Yeah. He's still working with that. I mean, I think his technique's a lot better. Like the ball looks better coming out of his hands this year, but again, it's just I think we'll see a big leap next year. I'm hoping that's the case
No, me
because
too.
I want that for Jaguars fans. And